What up, YouTube? Here with a review video for Crown Jewel. This is how I do my wrestling review videos. I give every match that happened on the card a match rating out of a 5, and at the end of the review, I will give the overall show a rating out of a 10. Now, with that being said, without any further ado, let's get to the reviewing part. The opening contest of this year's Crown Jewel was for the World Heavyweight title, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Now, the opening contest to Crown Jewel, I would say, was the best pure wrestling match that happened at Crown Jewel yesterday. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. And Seth Rollins got the win after hitting the pedigree and then following that up with the curb stomp to secure the win to successfully defend and retain the World Heavyweight title. Now, I did say on my review video on the latest episode of Talk Wrestling, where the review for WWE Fastlane was a part of that podcast episode, I did say Seth Rollins' reign should have ended that night because from my perspective, Seth Rollins' reign as the World Heavyweight Champion is getting stale, and Seth Rollins, with the status and the caliber that he's at, and I've been saying this for quite a while, and it's a known fact that Seth Rollins is arguably and probably the best overall wrestler when it comes to the total package, not only in the WWE, but in all of pro wrestling as of right now. And he's been a top level talent for quite a while now, and that's because ever since, well, matter of fact, before he signed with the WWE and he became well accomplished in NXT, and then when he was a part of the Shield, when he made his main roster debut, he was relevant from the start of his main roster career beginning. And before that, even the independent circuit, when he was wrestling in ROH and other companies like that, when he was wrestling under the name of Tyler Black, he had the reputation of being the best indie guy, and then he still having success as a wrestler that's a part of the WWE. And Seth Rollins, he's been a workhorse, a franchise player for the WWE ever since he signed with the WWE, and him being the first World Heavyweight Champion ever since the WWE decided to bring back the World Heavyweight title was definitely well-deserved. However, as I said, with the resume that Seth Rollins has right now, and he's already at a legendary status when it comes to his WWE career alone, a guy like that doesn't need the World Heavyweight title to be relevant, especially with the WWE having a brand split right now. And I did say Shinsuke Nakamura should have been the guy to take that title from Seth Rollins at WWE Fastlane. That would have been a good look for Shinsuke Nakamura with this revitalizing and this new character that Shinsuke Nakamura took on after turning heel. And Drew McIntyre, he's been on the road to redemption ever since he lost the WWE title in 2021. I think it was at the end of 2020 when Drew McIntyre lost the WWE title to, who was it, Bobby Lashley, I think it was Bobby Lashley, because he had a ongoing long rivalry feud against Randy Orton where he lost the title and then gained it back. And then Bobby Lashley, when it was the height of the Hurt Business, that's when Bobby Lashley and MVP Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander had a group going on, and I was quite fond of that group. And then, rightfully so, Bobby Lashley ended up taking the WWE title from Drew McIntyre. If I got the time period wrong. Bear with me, correct me if I'm wrong when it comes to who took the title from Drew McIntyre, and then if the time period is wrong as well, if y'all could fact check me on that, that would be very much appreciated. However, after Drew McIntyre lost the WWE title, after winning at WrestleMania 36, he didn't get to have that big WrestleMania moment, because when he won the WWE title at WrestleMania 36, that was during the height of the pandemic, and there was nobody in audience to witness Drew McIntyre have the biggest moment of his career. And when he was the WWE champion, his reign was in an empty arena. He was holding down the fort at the pandemic when live audiences was not a part of the weekly programming of Monday Night Raw. And that was very unfortunate for Drew McIntyre. He did get to main event for the world title when live audiences was able to get to be in crowd for live events. And we saw WrestleMania 37. He challenged Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. Failed attempt. Then last year at Clash at the Castle, he got to challenge Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal title. It ended in a typical Roman Reigns controversial fashion. However, yet another failed attempt for Drew McIntyre at gaining back the world title in front of a large audience, in front of a large stadium. And that is a moment to cherish for any wrestler, getting to headline big events with it being hosted in a big stadium. However, it's even better when that wrestler gets to win that main event in front of a large crowd, and Drew McIntyre still hasn't yet been able to accomplish that. And he had that kind of feel when he won the Royal Rumble in 2020. That was in front of a large stadium, in front of a large crowd. However, it wasn't him reaching that pinnacle of getting that brass ring, of becoming the world champion in WrestleMania at that, in front of a large audience at the biggest show in all of pro wrestling industry. He got another shot at that yesterday at Crown Jewel, and again it was a failed attempt for Drew McIntyre to gain back the world title in front of a large audience in a big event like Crown Jewel. And this match, it was a good match, good pace, good back and forth action between the two wrestlers. There was some cool highlight reel spots in this match, like when Seth Rollins was getting tilt-a-whirled. It looked like he was going for a hurricanrana perhaps, and then he got back up on his feet when he couldn't get the head scissors locked in. Then he turned that into a pedigree. I thought that was a cool highlight reel spot that was displayed during this match. And as well as Seth Rollins went to go hit the was it not the 450 splash, it was the corkscrew splash that he was going for, and then he landed on his feet because Drew McIntyre moved out of the way. And then Drew McIntyre, when he got back up on his feet, he would run at Seth Rollins and hit him with the Claymore, and then it was a false finish because Seth Rollins will kick out of that. And that was a thrilling, exciting moment that was produced out of this opening contest to Crown Jewel. And as I said, Seth Rollins hit his curb stomp to get the win to retain the World Heavyweight title. And I can't think of the right guy right now that's a part of the Monday Night Raw roster that is legitimate enough to challenge Seth Rollins next for the World Heavyweight title. As I said, Shinsuke Nakamura, with this unique character that he's got right now, that is a one of a kind that nobody else in the WWE has. I thought he was the perfect guy to take the title from Seth Rollins and start his reign, and that would march in a new era to Monday Night Raw, and it would be the first time ever that Shinsuke Nakamura would get to be world champion ever since he signed with the WWE. He hasn't won the main title ever since he got the call up to the main roster. He was the NXT champion. However, he hasn't won the world title, as I said, after getting that call up from NXT. And they've still done a good job at keeping Shinsuke Nakamura as a relevant talent that's competing at a top level on Monday Night Raw. And Drew McIntyre, he has the resume and the credentials to be world champion, with him being a former world champion. However, at this current stage that he's at right now, he does not have the momentum and he's not hot enough to be the world champion. And this match, it was more like an impromptu built match that Drew McIntyre got after Shinsuke Nakamura's rivalry with Seth Rollins ended. And I like how they're still carrying on the damages that Seth Rollins suffered throughout his rivalry versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And I like how the psychology factor played out in this match with Drew McIntyre targeting the injured, hurt lower back of Seth Rollins during and throughout this match that we saw at Crown Jewel. And the next pay-per-view is Survivor Series, and I haven't been keeping up with all the programs of pro wrestling in general, and I've been tapping in to Raw, SmackDown, AEW whenever I have the chance to. And from the looks of it, it looks like they could be going for a Raw versus SmackDown angle yet again. I know that's been done plenty of times for Survivor Series in the past. Now, only way to make it interesting, I would say, if they're going to do that concept again for this year's Survivor Series, is if they have a War Games match with SmackDown's best talent taking on Raw's best talent under that gimmick match. And that would be a rejuvenating look for the WWE to put on for the next up-and-coming pay-per-view Survivor Series. And to have Seth Rollins be a part of the Monday Night Raw representatives for that match, I think would be the right move, because I can't think of the right number one contender to challenge Seth Rollins next for that World Heavyweight title, let alone to take that World Heavyweight title from Seth Rollins. Right now, I can't think of anybody else that's got the momentum that's hot enough to be the next world champion on the Monday Night Raw roster. And Seth Rollins has done a good job at being himself, as being this workhorse, this fighting champion that takes on all comers. However, that character is missing its pizzazz, it's missing its flavor, it's missing its seasoning. And that's why I say Seth Rollins' reign has been mediocre. He's definitely had better reigns as world champion before. Even as a babyface, Seth Rollins, his best reign, from my personal opinion, was when he was a part of the Authority. That's when his rise on the main roster with the WWE began. And Seth Rollins, that's what really stamped him as being that guy for the WWE. And as I said, this reign, he still has that crazy, lunatic-ish character, that visionary, this loose cannon character that is fun for the crowd to get behind. However, for him to keep on with that gimmick And we don't got to talk about his in-ring ability and his wrestling skills, because when it comes to that, that's top notch. That's Seth Rollins' main forte. And as I said, the Monday Night Raw roster, I can't think of another guy that could legitimately have a match with Seth Rollins and take that title from him. The only way I see Seth Rollins losing this title is if Damian Priest cashes in his Money in the Bank. And speaking of that, Damian Priest attempted to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase contract to win the title from Seth Rollins after this match. However, Sami Zayn, who had a match versus JD McDonough to the kickoff of Crown Jewel, intervened and disrupted that cash-in attempt from Damian Priest. As y'all know, Sami Zayn has been a part of the baby faces that's been going at it with the Judgment Day on Monday Night Raw, and that's the main storyline that's going on Monday Night Raw. And Sami Zayn has been playing a big part of that feud. And Drew McIntyre, how he got to challenge Seth Rollins for this world title, kind of intertwines with that, because before this, Drew McIntyre really didn't have anything that relevant going on. He was a part of the Monday Night Raw program just to be a part of it for that 3-hour time slot to be fulfilled. And he was teaming up with Matt Riddle because neither one of those guys had anything going on. And those guys has been a talent for the WWE that's been putting in work for a long time. And they was in a feud with Viking Raiders and the New Day as well. And Drew McIntyre has been hinting a heel turn. And this would be a refreshing add-on to Drew McIntyre, I would say. And his current stages right now getting a revamp, because I would say where he's at right now, his character as a babyface has ran its course and it's becoming stale. And him hinting this character change and this heelish way of carrying himself is definitely a good look for Drew McIntyre. And that's how he got into a short-lived feud with the New Day, because of this new attitude that he's been carrying as of late. And that stemmed from him giving counsel to the baby faces that aligned themselves to take on and fight the Judgment Day over there on Monday Night Raw. And Jey Uso is a part of that babyface stable that's fighting off the Judgment Day. And Jey Uso joined the Monday Night Raw roster at Payback with Cody Rhodes, who has a history with Jey Uso. And he brought out Jey Uso and announced Jey Uso to be the newest added acquisition to the Monday Night Raw roster on the Grayson Waller Effect show at WWE Payback in September. And Drew McIntyre had a problem with his so-called friends taking a liking to Jey Uso and joining forces with Jey Uso because of that bitterness that he has left from his feud with the Bloodline from last year. And that's why Drew McIntyre separated himself from the other baby faces that's been fighting off the Judgment Day on Monday Night Raw. And speaking of the Judgment Day, after this match, we saw Drew McIntyre looking like he was disappointed because he lost the match for the world title versus Seth Rollins. Then Rhea Ripley, who was on her way out to defend her women's world title in a 5-way match, gave a shrug look towards Drew McIntyre, who was down on himself. That is furtherly teasing Drew McIntyre's heel turn. And not only that, that could be a possible hint to Drew McIntyre being a new member to the Judgment Day group. And that would be a surprise for WWE and their creative to have Drew McIntyre be a new addition to Judgment Day. If not, then Drew McIntyre can be a singles competitor still by himself and be a heel. We've seen him do good work as a heel before. He could work as a babyface and as a heel. To be honest, I was more of a fan of Drew McIntyre as a babyface. I was impressed with his run as a babyface. As I said, his character as a babyface has just ran its course. That's why I say him turning heel now would be the appropriate move. And if he goes on a run as a heel by himself, that can work out as well. And that would be a good look and a refreshment for Drew McIntyre with what he's got going on right now. Then the next match was the 5-way match for the Women's World title. Rhea Ripley defending the Women's World title versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Zoe Starks versus Shayna Baszler and versus Nia Jax. Now, this match was a good match, good back and forth action with all the competitors that was participating in this match. And the WWE, they tend to put on better multi-wrestling matches than any other wrestling promotions. You look at AEW and other promotions, they have this independent circuit style of wrestling for all their matches, and that's including multi-wrestler matches. And when you have multi-wrestlers featured in one match, they gotta choreograph that and organize that thoroughly for matches like that to work and for the fans to be able to keep up with the pace of that multi-wrestler match. You can't have all wrestlers looking to put on highlight reel moments and hog up the spotlight by doing that flippity indie style moves throughout the whole match. It gotta be produced very neatly. If not, then the match becomes hard to keep up with, and the WWE does a good job at splitting the time slots for each participant in that match to have their own individual moments. And this match was well put together, and Rhea Ripley, she got the win after hitting the riptide on Zoe Starks on top of both Shayna Baszler and Raquel Rodriguez from the top rope. Shayna Baszler and Raquel Rodriguez was on the mat, and Raquel Rodriguez was getting the better of Shayna Baszler, while, as I said, from the top rope, we saw Rhea Ripley hit the riptide on Zoe Starks on top of both Raquel Rodriguez and Shayna Baszler. And Rhea Ripley, to secure the win, she would get the pin over on Shayna Baszler to successfully defend and retain her Women's World title. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. And as I said, with Seth Rollins' world title reign, I can't think of a guy that would be appropriate other than Damian Priest successfully cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase contract on Seth Rollins to take the world title from him. The same goes for Rhea Ripley. I can't think of the right woman wrestler that could take the women's world title from off of her on Monday Night Raw, unless they keep up Nia Jax's run right now, which has been quite impressive ever since she came back to the WWE. However, storyline-wise, it won't make sense because both Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax are heels. Anyways, as I said, Rhea Ripley, she's continuing on her impressive reign. I would say she has been definitely the top female talent that the WWE has right now. And the next match on the card we saw was John Cena versus Solo Sikoa, and this match was a passing of the torch of a match. John Cena did tease retirement 2 weeks ago on SmackDown. He hasn't won a singles match in 4 years. The last time he won the singles match was back in the greatest Royal Rumble ever in 2019. And John Cena lost every singles match ever since then. And he's became a part-time talent after 2020. And this has been the most active John Cena's been since 2020. Now, John Cena has moved on to other ventures, and he's taken up his acting career, and it's became more serious as his acting career has picked up. That's why he hasn't been as active with his pro wrestling career. And to be honest, John Cena has already accomplished it all. John Cena is being announced and recognized by the WWE as the greatest of all time, and arguably and most definitely John Cena is definitely in the conversation of being, if not the greatest wrestler of all time, but he's amongst the conversation for being the greatest wrestler of all time, and he's definitely on that GOAT list. And John Cena, I think with the WWE having John Cena where he's at right now, he is putting over the young and up-and-coming prospect talents that the WWE has right now, like a Solo Sikoa. And WWE has done a good job at making Solo Sikoa look like a force to be reckoned with, a monstrous heel ever since he got the call-up from NXT to the main roster. And for Solo Sikoa to get a win over a legend like John Cena is a good look. And not only was this a regular win for Solo Sikoa, it was an emphatic statement-making victory that Solo Sikoa got over on John Cena at Crown Jewel. He hit numerous, countless, I think it was like 7 or 8 Samoan spikes that he hit John Cena with to secure the win. And I like how this match was put together. John Cena showing his crafty veteranness by targeting the thumb, which is a key weapon of Solo Sikoa during this match. And Solo Sikoa, him finishing off John Cena the way he did, with John Cena already being defenseless and laid out, and Solo Sikoa will pick John Cena up by the back of his head and hit multiple Samoan spikes while John Cena was laid out on his back. And then when Solo Sikoa decided that it was enough, then he went for the pin. And then John Cena walked out, and this was a good send-off that the WWE had put on for John Cena, with John Cena now, prior to this match, questioning where he's at with his wrestling career, and him questioning and teasing a possible future retirement, and him losing the way he did yesterday at Crown Jewel and walking out. And this spotlights John Cena's acting and him having that look of doubt and questioning himself following this match and this defeat that he suffered versus Solo Sikoa. And he took a walk in doubt and shame, with the crowd still behind him, cheering for him, saying that he still got it and he's still one of the greatest of all time. And we probably won't see John Cena till next year's WrestleMania. I don't think John Cena will be there at the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber. I think John Cena will show up much like he did for WrestleMania this year. I think he will show up right before WrestleMania during the road to WrestleMania, and whoever's got a hot momentum during that time, that prospect will get a match versus John Cena at next year's WrestleMania. And that's if John Cena's schedule in Hollywood isn't busy, because you look at WrestleMania 38, John Cena wasn't a part of that. Throughout the whole 2021 calendar, John Cena was occupied with his acting career, and I think he only showed up like once or twice on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and I think he only had a tag team match, and that was his only one match for 2021 when he teamed up with Kevin Owens to take on the Bloodline on a episode of SmackDown at 2021. And at 2022, he didn't. No, it was 2022 when he had only one match, and that's when he teamed up with Kevin Owens to take on the Bloodline. I got the time period mixed up. And it was 2021 when he, I think, only had one match at SummerSlam versus Roman Reigns, when he challenged for the Universal title. And I think he could have had like one or two other matches featured on Raw or a SmackDown. And then after that, we didn't see John Cena as much as we have seen John Cena wrestling this year. As I said, this is the most busy John Cena's been after 2020. And did I already give a match rating for Solo Sikoa versus John Cena? If I didn't, I give that match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. It was a good match, and this is a push, a further push to Solo Sikoa's push that he's been getting as the enforcer to the Bloodline. And I'm sure this victory is going to be talked about more on the next episodes of SmackDown, especially because of the way he won this match. And this definitely is the biggest and the most impressive win Solo Sikoa has thus far on his resume in his young and up-and-coming prospect of a career. And this definitely made him look like a forcing monstrous heel. And the next match we saw was for the women's title, Io Sky defending her women's title versus Bianca Belair. And this match was a good match. It had good action, good back and forth between the two wrestlers. And both Io Sky and Bianca Belair are in prime wrestlers who wrestle at a high level. And when you have wrestlers that wrestle on the caliber that these two wrestle at, you're bound to have a good quality of a match. And that's exactly what we got to witness. And Io Sky ended up getting the win in a controversial manner. We saw Bayley, who's been playing the coach for Io Sky ever since Io Sky won the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then she became women's champion at SummerSlam. Bayley has not only been the coach for Io Sky, however, she's also been the mouthpiece for Io Sky as well. And Bayley and Io Sky has been showing signs of disagreement and dispute on the latest episodes of SmackDown. It started before Fastlane when Bayley accepted the challenge that was misinterpreted by Bayley when Asuka was talking to Io Sky in Japanese. And Io Sky clearly understood what Asuka was talking about. Bayley didn't, and that's how the three-way match happened at Fastlane with Io Sky defending the women's title versus Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Io Sky walked away victorious, successfully defending and retaining her women's title at Fastlane. That was yet another heelish, controversial fashion that Io Sky got to walk away with the W at Fastlane, and it was no different at Crown Jewel when she got a win over on Bianca Belair. This time it didn't come from the aid of Damage Control. Dakota Kai wasn't ringside at all, and Bayley made an appearance during the midst of the match. She tried to make an interference on the behalf of Io Sky, then Bianca Belair put hands on her outside the ring. Then out of nowhere, Kairi Sane, who was a part of the WWE before 2020, I think she got released from WWE when she was a part of the NXT roster, along with Io Sky, who was both a part of NXT during 2020, and I think it was pre-pandemic when they both got released. And to be honest with y'all, I wasn't keeping up with pro wrestling at all prior to 2021. I had just recently tapped back in to pro wrestling and sports after 2020, and I didn't get to witness the run of Kairi Sane when she was a part of the WWE roster. And I don't know if Kairi Sane is going to join Damage Control, because Bayley ringside after Io Sky got the win, after Kairi Sane put hands on Bianca Belair ringside, and she tossed Bianca Belair back in the ring for Io Sky to pick up the scraps of Bianca Belair to get the win and successfully defend the women's title. And then Bayley had this confused look because of that surprise. I didn't expect Kairi Sane to show up at Crown Jewel. I didn't hear any rumors of Kairi Sane being a talked about talent that would be making her return to the WWE for Crown Jewel on the internet. So it was definitely a surprise, a shock factor that was a part of the Crown Jewel show. And Kairi Sane and Io Sky, I don't know if they were teaming before. However, I know they have history, both being from Japan. I don't know if they worked together back in Japan. I don't know if they were working together when they were a part of NXT. However, I know for a fact, for the future, we will see Kairi Sane and Io Sky work together as a team. As I said, Bayley looked like she didn't have anything to do with Kairi Sane making an interference on the behalf of her fellow Damage Control member Io Sky, the Women's World Champion. Not the Women's World Champion, because that's Rhea Ripley, and the WWE Women's Champion, because they have different titles. Y'all know what I mean. Women's World Champion, they're both Women's World Champions, so whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I could say Io Sky is a Women's World Champion as well. Anyways, with that being said, now, as I had mentioned earlier, Bayley and Io Sky has been butting heads as of late. Now, does this mean that we'll see Damage Control split? Will we see Io Sky team with Kairi Sane and Bayley become babyface and align herself with the likes of Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, and other baby faces that are a part of the women's roster over there on SmackDown? Because Bayley didn't join in on the post-match attack to Kairi Sane and Io Sky when they was putting the beats on Bianca Belair after Io Sky got the win. That's how I know if Damage Control splits, Io Sky and Kairi Sane will remain and continue being heels, and Bayley will most likely turn out to be the babyface. And I'm looking forward to seeing Io Sky teaming with Kairi Sane. As I said, I never got to witness the works of Kairi Sane. From what I've heard, she is a tremendous workhorse. Her in-ring skills are fantastic, and she looks like she's got the looks to be a top-level talent that's gonna be a problem over there on SmackDown. And I think SmackDown and Raw, when it comes to women's talent, it's quite even. However, I think SmackDown, with the storyline that they got right now, it's more well-balanced over there on SmackDown when you compare the women's roster between those two brands. And as I said, Kairi Sane and Io Sky, if they're heels, I don't know how that will work out as far as the communications goes. However, the fans, especially the wrestling purist fans, are marking out for this unity with Io Sky and Kairi Sane. Now, will Kairi Sane be a part of the Damage Control because Io Sky recruited her? Who knows? And I'll give this match with Bianca Belair and Io Sky a rating of a 3 out of a 5. I would give it 3.5 out of a 5, but I can't give it the same rating as the best pure wrestling match that happened on the card. Only reason why I was considering it to give it that rating is because of how this match ended and that surprise factor with Kairi Sane making her debut, her comeback to the WWE. And the next match on the card was for the U.S. title. Logan Paul challenging the Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio. And Logan Paul has proved himself to be worthy of being a legitimate wrestler. And there isn't a shadow of a doubt, and there shouldn't be any question from the wrestling fans. Even the wrestling purist has been avid, long time, quote-unquote educated wrestling fans. And that's because Logan Paul, whenever he got in there with the best that the WWE had to offer, he's hung in there with them. And he's put on good quality matches. And I don't see how they could have a disdain towards a guy like Logan Paul. You know how WWE has been building LA Knight to be the fastest rising star in WWE history? I think that title should go to Logan Paul because LA Knight, he has a history of being a devoted wrestler who has solely focused on being a pro wrestler from the start of his adult life. And that's all he's been, from what I know, from the beginning of his adulthood. And LA Knight, he was a part of NXT, and he had hype there, and he got the call up to the main roster under that Max Dupree gimmick when he had the gimmick of being a modeling agent, and that was short-lived, thank goodness. And then he took on that LA Knight gimmick again and looked like he was gonna be a jobber until this summer when he started to appear more after the brand split happened at this year's draft. And the fans took a well liking to him. From what I've heard, a lot of fans has been quite fond of LA Knight, and they've been pushing for LA Knight to get a push. And the reason why he's been getting the push that he's getting is because how well the fans are reacting to him. And that's why LA Knight, even though he just came onto the scene as a frequent talent that makes appearances on a weekly basis over there on SmackDown, his rise didn't come fast if you really think about it. As I said, he just came onto the scene on SmackDown when the brand split happened this summer, and Logan Paul, at the beginning of his adulthood, it wasn't on his list to be a WWE wrestler or a pro wrestler at all. He's already successful, and he's got a name without the WWE being attached to him. This was a mutual deal that the WWE and Logan Paul have worked out together because it's beneficial to both parties. And Logan Paul, he's got a successful vlog channel. He's got a successful podcast show. He boxes as well. He doesn't box as frequently as his brother Jake Paul. However, he's got an athletic background as well, with him having a elite amateur wrestling career when he was a all-American, all-state wrestler in high school, and that's how he's able to keep up with the pace with the best of them in WWE, and he's displayed his athleticism anytime he stepped in the ring versus the likes of Roman Reigns. That's the best wrestler that's on top of the whole WWE right now. Then there's The Miz, who's a legend himself. Yes, I said it, The Miz is a legend. His accomplishments, nobody can take away. And his ability as well. The Miz got the it factor. He can talk, he has charisma, he can get the crowd to be involved with whatever he's involved in, and whatever he got going on, the crowd seems to invest with whatever The Miz has to do. And his wrestling ability has improved dramatically from when he started out as a pro wrestler, from when he attempted to become a WWE superstar at Tough Enough, and then he was a part of the SmackDown roster back in 2006, and then he started getting the push after he split from John Morrison, and he was a part of the ECW roster. Then he proved himself in the mid-cards when he was a U.S. champion. Then he became the WWE champion, further proving himself. And he's a two-time Grand Slam champion. I think he's the only superstar, only wrestler in WWE history to be a two-time Grand Slam champion. Now, that resume is impressive. That's a Hall of Fame resume. And The Miz has been a valid asset, a franchise player that's always showed up for the WWE. And Logan Paul proved himself when he stepped in there with The Miz at SummerSlam last year. And then we saw at this year's WrestleMania, Logan Paul putting on a good quality, high-level match versus arguably the best pure wrestler in all of pro wrestling, Seth Rollins. And then he was a part of the Money in the Bank ladder match at this year's Money in the Bank as well. And that is a hard match to perform in. And he hung in there and had highlight reel spots during that match as well, just like he did at Royal Rumble this year. And then he wrestled another high-level wrestler in Ricochet. And Ricochet, he's been considered to be one of the best in-ring performers in all of pro wrestling for a long time as well. And they put on a good match as well. And Rey Mysterio, he's considered to be one of the greatest of all times when it comes to pure wrestling in-ring performance. And it must have been an honor for Logan Paul to yet again work with Rey Mysterio, who was a part of his debut match at WrestleMania 38 when Logan Paul got to team with The Miz to take on the duo of the father and son, Rey and Dominic Mysterio. And it came in a full circle this time with Rey Mysterio taking on Logan Paul without The Miz and Dominic Mysterio being a part of this match. And this match was a good match as well. I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. Logan Paul, you got to give him credit because there was a spot in this match where he saved Rey Mysterio's career, really, because when Rey Mysterio was going for the Lion Salt, the springboard that he got from the rope wasn't strong enough for him to get a successful landing from that Lion Salt. And it could have ended up ugly and bad for Rey Mysterio. If Logan Paul didn't catch Rey Mysterio on his shoulder, Rey Mysterio could have spiked his own head to the canvas, and that definitely would have been a career ender for Rey Mysterio, who's well past his prime, and he's in his 50s, I believe, and he can't afford injuries like that at the current stage that he's at right now. And Logan Paul, that's how you know his in-ring awareness is up there. And that's how you know Logan Paul takes his wrestling career serious. And he is, without a doubt, without a question, a legitimate pro wrestler. And he knows what he's doing. He takes it serious. And he trains hard when it comes to preparing for his wrestling matches. And him getting the win at Crown Jewel and becoming the new U.S. champion is a good look for Logan Paul. And this doesn't really add to the value to an already prestigious title like the U.S. title and a top promotion when it comes to the pro wrestling business like the WWE, because whenever Logan Paul has a match in the WWE, it gets notoriety itself because Logan Paul already has the notoriety amongst the public for the public to draw to whatever he's doing, whether it be his energy drink venture or his podcast show, his vlogs, or if he decides to step in the boxing ring, or if he decides to step in the wrestling ring. It's gonna draw either ways. And I could understand from pure wrestling fans, and I say quote unquote, putting that quotation mark there, of being a pure elitist wrestling fan, of how they say, oh, Logan Paul. Well, that complaint doesn't make any sense because, as I said, Logan Paul, he's got the characteristics, he got the charisma, he got the talking ability, he got the drawing ability, his name is marketable, and he got the in-ring skills as well. That makes him a total package, and that, without a doubt, makes him the fastest rising wrestler arguably of all time. And it's quite impressive how well he's able to perform and how fast he's caught on with hanging in there with the best of them. And the only reason how I could find fit to that complaint from fans saying, oh, Logan Paul, him being a U.S. champion isn't a good look, is because he's a part-timer. If he was a full-timer, I would be all for it, and I would say y'all have no reason to complain about Logan Paul being the new U.S. champion. Him getting a win over on Rey Mysterio, and he got a win over on Ricochet at SummerSlam as well. Those two wins are impressive and is a good look for Logan Paul, and it legitimizes his push and it stamps him as a legit wrestler. And Logan Paul, as I said, him being the new U.S. champion and him being a part-timer, I don't know how that's going to work out. Now, is Logan Paul going to drop the title at Survivor Series? It won't make sense for the WWE to have Logan Paul drop the title at a random episode of a SmackDown, because Logan Paul's schedule, the way that's set up, he only wrestles on pay-per-views. And that's why I don't think we'll see Logan Paul drop the U.S. title on a regular TV show like a SmackDown. And he's definitely got the momentum. Anytime he comes out, he gets that Dominic Mysterio reception from the crowd. And that's good because Dominic Mysterio, arguably in all of pro wrestling, has the best natural crowd reactions from the live audience. And Logan Paul as well gets that legitimate heat and that heel reaction that heels look for from the audience. And Logan Paul knows how to work that heel character and draw the fans in with his heelish work. And as I said, the WWE given a mid-card title to a part-timer, and the WWE recently just did a good job at revitalizing and adding emphasis on the prestigiousness of the mid-card titles and the whole mid-card scene. And for them to give it to a part-timer like Logan Paul, that can hurt that build that the WWE has been putting on to the mid-card scene and the mid-card title. However, Logan Paul, I think because he won that title at Crown Jewel, he will be there at Survivor Series. If Logan Paul loses that U.S. title, it won't make sense for him to lose in a month. However, as I said, he is a part-timer, so it would make sense, and I wouldn't have no complaints if Logan Paul does lose the U.S. title that quickly in less than a month at Survivor Series. Because he's a part-timer, this could have been just a moment for Logan Paul to have winning a title this early in his WWE career in front of a large audience at a large stadium on a pay-per-view event. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of 5. And this how the match ended. Logan Paul won in a typical heel fashion. One of his buddies from his podcast show appeared from under the ring, much like he did at SummerSlam, to help assist Logan Paul get the win over on Ricochet. When his buddy appeared from the ring apron, he put the brass knuckles on the ring apron and then tried to escape from ringside to hop over the barricade. Then out of nowhere, Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio's protege, came out and took the brass knuckle away from the grasp of Logan Paul. Or matter of fact, I think he took the brass knuckle away from Logan Paul's friend. That way Logan Paul couldn't retrieve that brass knuckle as his buddy intended to, and he chased that guy, Logan Paul's friend, away from ringside and put the brass knuckle on the apron of the ring. And that was a crucial mistake that Santos Escobar made, because the brass knuckle was still visible and Logan Paul got his hands on that brass knuckle, and Rey Mysterio hit the 619 on Logan Paul. However, it was too late because Logan Paul had already had the brass knuckle in his grasp, and he had it around his knuckles. And when Rey Mysterio looked to finish Logan Paul with that splash from the top rope, Logan Paul would catch him with that one lucky punch with that added pepper from that brass knuckle, and he caught Rey Mysterio mid-air with that one lucky punch along with the brass knuckle being there. And that's how Logan Paul got the win and became the new U.S. champion. Now, I wonder how long Logan Paul's U.S. title reign is gonna be. Anyways, moving on, the next match on the card was a match with Cody Rhodes and Damian Priest. Now, this match was a long-built one because Cody Rhodes has been a main factor that's been a part of the top baby faces that's been going at it versus the Judgment Day over there on Monday Night Raw. And the WWE has done a good job at making the male members of the Judgment Day look like equals, because if you ask wrestling fans, they will say Finn Balor is the face of the Judgment Day as far as the males go, because Finn Balor is the most accomplished when it comes to overall resume. And Damian Priest, him being Mr. Money in the Bank and one half of the tag team champions, and Finn Balor as well being the other half of the tag team champions, and Dominic Mysterio, he's the NXT North American champion, and he gets the best reaction and the most loudest reaction from the audience. However, resume-wise, he doesn't have the experience that a Finn Balor and a Damian Priest has. And they've done, as I said, a good job at balancing out the scales when it comes to the male members of the Judgment Day. And each member of the Judgment Day gets their own shine. And Damian Priest, him getting this match versus Cody Rhodes solidifies Damian Priest's push as being a potential next world champion. I mean, him holding the Money in the Bank briefcase already solidifies that. However, getting a match versus the likes of Cody Rhodes is yet another good look for Damian Priest. And the match itself was good because you get wrestlers that's on the level of a Cody Rhodes and Damian Priest. We're bound to get a good quality wrestling match out of wrestlers like those guys. And that's exactly what we saw, plus more excitements with interferences from this match. And it adds on to the ongoing storyline with the Judgment Day and the baby faces of Monday Night Raw. Sami Zayn, as I said, he interrupted Damian Priest's cash-in attempt after the match was Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Then we didn't get to see him for this match. At least I don't remember. If he did, which I don't think he was a part of interfering in this match. I know Jey Uso came out to neutralize the numbers when Dominic Mysterio made his way out to interfere on the behalf of his fellow Judgment Day member Damian Priest. And Finn Balor came out first to help out Damian Priest. Then Dominic Mysterio came out when things started to pick up. Then Jey Uso came out of nowhere and handed out super kicks. Then Cody Rhodes got the win after hitting 3 crossroads on Damian Priest. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. And how this match was being built was much like how the Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes feud was getting the build, with Damian Priest targeting the lower leg of Cody Rhodes, and that was a handicap to Cody Rhodes heading into this match. And Cody Rhodes, he's got the character of a underdog that always has the odds stacked against him. However, he always finds a way to fight and crawl his way out. And it was the same in this match, and him getting the win even though the numbers and odds was against him. And that always calls for a feel-good storyline. And the next match was the main event for the WWE Undisputed Universal title. Roman Reigns defending his title and putting his historic reign on the line versus LA Knight, the quote-unquote fastest rising star in SmackDown history. And as I said, LA Knight came onto the scene this summer, and he got the natural push that any pro wrestler looks to gain. And that is a push that came from the fans. And that came because of how well they react and receive LA Knight. And whenever LA Knight would make an appearance on SmackDown, even when he was a jobber, they were taking a good liking to him because, honestly, LA Knight's got the it factor. He can wrestle in the ring, he can talk, he has charisma, he has characteristics, and that makes him a definite top-level talent. And him getting that stamp of approval from one of the greatest of all time, like John Cena, helps. And him winning a battle royal at SummerSlam versus all the other talent that was featured at that battle royal at SummerSlam, that helps. And him being involved in a top storyline going on over there on SmackDown versus the Bloodline and having John Cena by his side, that helps. Him getting a win over like the legend like The Miz helps. And him getting a win over a future legend, and Sheamus is a legend as well, and him getting a clean victory over a guy like Sheamus, that's a good look as well. And him headlining a pay-per-view event versus the top guy of the WWE, like Roman Reigns, who is the current champion with the most impressive reign in modern WWE and modern pro wrestling history. He's held the title for over 1,000 days, and most likely he'll probably hold this title till next year's WrestleMania, because Roman Reigns did get the win, successfully defending and retaining his undisputed WWE Universal title, continuing his streak as the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. I just don't like how Roman Reigns ended up getting the win. And that's because with the current stage that LA Knight's at right now, yes, he's on a hot streak. However, Roman Reigns, with the stage that he's at and the reputation he's earned and how well accomplished and the caliber Roman Reigns is at and the resume he has, he didn't need to get the win versus LA Knight the way he did last night at Crown Jewel. And Roman Reigns got the win in the typical heel Roman Reigns bloodline way, with Jimmy Uso making the save for the Tribal Chief to get the win over on LA Knight at Crown Jewel. And Roman Reigns, as I said, I don't know who can be next in line to be a potential threat to his undisputed Universal title. As I said, LA Knight was the right guy to be next in line to challenge Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal title because of the momentum that he's got going on right now. And Roman Reigns, if the WWE goes with that storyline that looks like can and might happen, with it being SmackDown versus Raw for this year's Survivor Series, which is the next pay-per-view, because as y'all know, now both brands has their own respective general managers and they butted heads on WWE TV. And if Roman Reigns and the Bloodline represents SmackDown to take on Raw's best talent in a War Games match for Survivor Series, because we've seen traditional Survivor Series tag team matches with Raw's best taking on SmackDown's best. They even had NXT featured in brand war matches in past Survivor Series. That's why I don't want to see what's been done before being done again. The only way they could give it a refreshing look is if they have Raw versus SmackDown being competed in a War Games match. If not, don't do it at all. That would be my suggestive to the WWE creative. And if they don't go with Raw versus SmackDown for Survivor Series, they can have the Bloodline have a match versus LA Knight, and whoever wants to align and join forces with LA Knight to take on the Bloodline as a ongoing top storyline over there on Friday Night SmackDown. And this match with Roman Reigns and LA Knight, it was a good match. It had good action, good back and forth action between the two wrestlers. And unlike Solo Sikoa in his biggest match of his career, who Solo Sikoa had nobody accompanying him ringside, and Roman Reigns, he had not only Paul Heyman, who was there at the beginning of this match accompanying Roman Reigns, both his cousins Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso made an appearance during the midst of this match to interfere on the behalf of their cousin, the head of the table, the Tribal Chief, the current undisputed Universal Champion Roman Reigns. Solo Sikoa, when he was making his entrance to attempt to accompany Roman Reigns ringside, the staff in the back came out to stop Solo Sikoa from making it to ringside to accompany Roman Reigns throughout the match. However, Jimmy Uso came out of nowhere and he stayed ringside throughout the match, playing a pivotal role. And towards the end of the match, when LA Knight hit the BFT, Jimmy Uso would place Roman Reigns' foot on the bottom rope to have the match continue, when LA Knight could have got the win after hitting his finishing move on Roman Reigns. Then obviously with LA Knight being frustrated with Jimmy Uso costing him that possible win, he would go on to take out his frustration on Jimmy Uso, slamming Jimmy Uso's head repeatedly onto the announce table. Then when Roman Reigns looked to attack LA Knight while LA Knight was handling Jimmy Uso, then LA Knight would turn it around on Roman Reigns and slam Roman Reigns' head onto the announce table repeatedly. Then he would slam Jimmy Uso through the announce table. Then when LA Knight would turn around, Roman Reigns would spear him through the barricade. Then Roman Reigns would throw LA Knight back into the ring, hitting him with yet another spear to get the win and to successfully defend and retain the WWE Undisputed Universal title, continuing his historic title reign. And as I said, much like what's going on over there with the main title over there on Monday Night Raw, I don't see who can be next over there on SmackDown to challenge Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal title. The next feud I see fit for Roman Reigns would be for him to be in a match with the Bloodline, taking on LA Knight and whoever wants to team with LA Knight as Survivor Series. Then we probably won't see Roman Reigns till the Royal Rumble, when the road to WrestleMania starts. And as I said, LA Knight, I think the next appropriate move for him after he's done feuding with the Bloodline would be to go for the U.S. title. I think, matter of fact, he would be the perfect candidate to take that U.S. title away from a heel like Logan Paul. Y'all see how I said Logan Paul is without a doubt the fastest rising wrestler in WWE or in all of pro wrestling's history, perhaps, because of how quick he came onto the scene and how well he's done versus top level talent when his wrestling career just began, and how LA Knight's been teased and been built as the fastest rising wrestler in SmackDown history, and his come up has been quite impressive. It's only been from the summer till now. That's like what, only like 4 or 5 months that LA Knight's been on the scene as a mid-carder. Then now he's already main eventing pay-per-view events in large stadiums. Now that's a good look, and I think that feud makes sense, and I think that's appropriate. And as I said, LA Knight, because of how quickly he rose up, Roman Reigns, who's been competing at this level for a long time, getting the win like he did versus a rookie like LA Knight, it makes Roman Reigns look weak. And that's why I ain't like the booking that the creative put on for this match. And now, with that being said, that does it for this review video for this year's Crown Jewel. I give Crown Jewel a rating of a 7 out of a 10. It was a solid, decent wrestling show. And to be honest with y'all, I was going to give it a 6.5 out of a 10. I'm being generous with it getting a 7 out of a 10. I like how they put on the matches with Solo Sikoa and John Cena and how that match was booked. I like the storyline that they featured with teasing Drew McIntyre's possible heel turn. And I liked how they had Sami Zayn interrupt Damian Priest's cash-in attempt. That is continuing the build to the storyline that they got going over there on Monday Night Raw, and as well as how the match with Cody Rhodes and Damian Priest played out, and of course, Kairi Sane making her surprise debut, or rather her return to the WWE, and that's what made it a good show. And the main event, as I said, it could have closed out better. However, the match itself was good. I give that match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. And it was a good, refreshing feel to the main event scene over there on SmackDown, with LA Knight getting that main event spotlight versus Roman Reigns. And that's because that push for LA Knight came naturally from the crowd and from the fans advocating and pushing for his push, and LA Knight earned himself that title shot versus the head of not only the tribal table of the bloodline, but for the whole WWE as a company, as a franchise, and as a promotion. And with that being said, that does it for this video. Y'all let me know what y'all thoughts are from Crown Jewel. Comment, subscribe, share, like. And I'm out of here, y'all. And be good. And peace. Oh yeah, and click the links in the description to show y'all support for this channel. Anything would be appreciated. And now that does it for this review video. Now I'm out for real, y'all. Be good. Peace.